Hey guys, and welcome back to another video on my channel. I know today's Monday, but like I talked about briefly in my last video, just for the time being, I'm going to be kind of abandoning the Freaky Friday Mystery Monday thing. Just while all of this self-isolation stuff is going on, I'm just going to be uploading videos as I research them. So today I am back with another cryptid video. So with that all being said, let's get right into today's case. The cryptid creature that we are going to be covering today is none other than Michigan's Dogman. Dogman was originally spotted in 1887 in Wexford County, Michigan by a group of lumberjacks. These lumberjacks were just going about their business in the woods when all of a sudden they saw what they originally thought was an abnormally large dog. For whatever reason, the lumberjacks decided to chase this dog down, and when the creature noticed that it was being chased, it tried to hide out in a hollowed out log. However, the lumberjacks seen the creature or the dog go into that hollowed out log, and I'm not exactly sure what their thought process was at this time, but one of the lumberjacks got a very large stick and began to poke at the creature, hoping to kind of get it to come out of the log. Now this did work, however, it was not to the lumberjacks' advantage, because after they started to poke the creature with this stick, the creature popped out of the log, making a painfully loud screeching sound, unlike anything any of the lumberjacks had ever heard before. And that is when they saw that this was not a dog. Whatever this was bipedal, walking on two legs, and looked like that of a mutated human. And they described it as almost looking like a dog-human hybrid. Obviously, at this point, all of the lumberjacks were absolutely terrified, and they were immediately regretting their decision of following this dog-like creature and trying to capture it, and they fled the scene in absolute terror. And this, again, was the original story of Dogman and the first time that he was ever spotted. But after that, Dogman-like creatures have been spotted all over America since that day. All over, all the time. In 1937, a man by the name of Robert Forsty was attacked by 5 dogs, and he claimed that one of these dogs was bipedal and resembled what he had known to be Dogman. Several other stories similar to this one came out throughout the 1950s as well as the 1960s, and that is, I guess, when the story of Dogman really reached its peak. So now let's get into the little bit, I guess, like more technical stuff about Dogman. So unlike any other cryptid that I have ever come across or any other cryptid that I've talked about on this channel, there are 2 types of Dogman. One is referred to as the canine type Dogman, and the second one is referred to as type 3 Dogman. And that name doesn't really make sense to me, as there are only 2 types of Dogman, so why wouldn't they call it canine type Dogman and type 2 Dogman? Or why wouldn't they just call them type 1, type 2? But anyways, on with the video. So the canine type Dogmen are the ones that are more popularly seen. They're the ones that are primarily reported as people witnessing. They are said to have dog-like legs, although I do believe that they are bipedal. Please correct me in the comments if I am wrong. Some of them are said to have had very large heads, but not all of them are said to look the same, whereas some of them appear to look more like a werewolf in appearance, whereas some of them look more like hyenas. And then the type 3 Dogmen, similarly to that of the canine Dogmen, are not said to all look the same, but what classifies them as a type 3 Dogman rather than a canine Dogman is that they have human-like legs and usually resemble more of that of Sasquatch, with, I guess, like more dog attributes to it, but they are bipedal and are often mistaken for Sasquatch. And in the year 1987, a man by the name of Steve Cook jokingly wrote a song and recorded it and uploaded it on YouTube. You can watch it on here today, about people's encounters with Dogman. However, to many people, this was not a joke, and it really brought back a lot of fear that they had from their encounters with Dogman, and I think that this might have been what really sparked the interest in Dogman in the early 2000s, but again, you can listen to that song here on YouTube. Now, just like I do in all of these cryptid videos, I'm going to be sharing with you guys some stories and encounters that people have had with Dogman. Just like I say in all of these videos, I do just want to mention again that none of these stories are mine. I have personally never had an encounter with Dogman, and I got all of these stories off of the internet for your entertainment and for your educational purposes. I also just wanted to mention as well that I got a lot of these stories off of a website called dogmanencounters.com. And I just wanted to share this website with you guys if you maybe possibly hadn't heard of it, but I'm sure if you're into Dogman, you've heard of it because it's a very popular website. They have all these encounters listed on there. It's a very informative website. They even have a super interesting podcast. So if you haven't checked that website out, I highly recommend that you do so. And I will have it linked in the description box down below, just in case you want to go ahead and check that website out for yourselves, which again, I highly recommend that you do. But with that all being said, let's get into the first story. So the first story that I'm going to share with you guys today is from Ocean County, Michigan. The narrator and the person who shared this story goes on to mention that they are located just outside of Rossbury. Now, this person was outside shoveling snow, which is very normal for the state of Michigan, and that is when they decided to take a walk through their family-owned woods, as their family owned about 270 acres of property that was in a very wooded area. The narrator proceeds to say how this walk would change their life forever. They walked this walk through the woods thousands of times, but had never had an experience quite like this one. The walk started out as any normal walk that our narrator would take, with them following the creek down as a path, looking for deer stands on their property. The walk was going as usual until the narrator was about 300 yards south of their home. That is when they stopped to have a cigarette, and they were kind of looking around to see if they could see any wildlife, maybe a coyote or a couple of deers or something along those lines, when all of a sudden, to the narrator's absolute horror, he saw a creature that he had never seen before. He was completely frozen with fear, and at this point, this creature, as well as the narrator, started to make eye contact. That is when all of a sudden the creature jumped up and made two very large leaps and then was completely out of the narrator's sight. He described this creature as being bipedal, walking on two legs, having very broad shoulders, looking like that of a werewolf, and that this creature had glowing amber-colored eyes. Before the creature made this leap and then disappeared, it let out a very loud, ear-piercing screech. And another thing that the narrator noted in this story is that before he had noticed the creature, even then, he was thinking how unsettling it was where he was standing in the woods, because he said it was absolutely silent until the creature disappeared, and then it seemed like all the birds and everything like that went back to normal. But up until the point where the animal jumped away, the woods had been completely silent. So now we're moving on to encounter number 2. The narrator of this story starts off by saying that their story is 100% true, and that they had this encounter when they were a kid at summer camp in Julian, California, and the camp was called Marston Camp, and it was a summer camp that this person was attending. So the person telling this story said that they think that they were about 7 or 8 years old at the time, and all of their friends that they were hanging out with were also around the ages of 7 and 8 years old. They were male and they were at the summer camp, and they wanted to sneak out of their cabins one night to go and find the girls' section of the camp. They knew that there was a girls' section of the camp, as they did activities with the girls during the day, but they didn't know where the section where they slept and stuff was, and the boys wanted to see some of the girls that they had become friends with while staying on the camp. So this was, I guess, the last night that they had been there. The next day there was going to be a big dance for the last night, so this was the last normal night that they would be having at the camp. So the boys decided that this was a good night to decide to sneak out of their cabin and go and see if they could find the girls' section. They figured that they had all night and they weren't really in a rush. They were just dilly-dallying. They knew the general direction where the girls' section was. It was up the path somewhere through the woods, but they obviously didn't know the exact location. But about 20 minutes into the boys' late night adventure, while in the middle of the woods, they started to hear the sound of cracking branches coming from all around them. Again, this sound was not coming from one singular direction, it was coming from every single direction, and they couldn't pinpoint exactly where it was actually coming from. At this point, all of the boys started to get a little bit nervous, and so they decided to seek hideout in a bush. And so they were hiding in this bush when all of a sudden they saw what appeared to be a very large creature moving towards them. They couldn't see very much because it was quite dark, but they could make out that this creature was bipedal like a human. It was way too large to be a coyote or a werewolf, or not a werewolf, sorry, just an average wolf. But it did resemble that of a wolf. It was very muscular but also skinny at the same time, and they said that this creature had glowing amber colored eyes unlike anything that they had ever seen before. The boys stayed hidden in this bush until the creature was out of sight, and then they decided to call their adventure quits for that night because they were absolutely horrified. They crawled out of the bush and quietly made their ways back to their cabins, and they didn't try to do this the following night because they were just so absolutely petrified. The narrator of this next story started off by saying that this took place 2 weeks ago. And the story, or the date at the bottom of the story, said that this took place in 2015. So the timeline of this is that this story took place in 2015. The narrator was driving down the road from a party or something like that with his fiance. When not even 15 minutes into their drive, they noticed a very large creature on the opposite side of the 2-lane road. Said that although on the opposite lane of the road, the creature was fairly close to the car and it appeared as if it was on all fours. He could also make out that this creature was grayish in color, and it just really spooked him out. He asked his fiance if she had seen this as well, and she confirmed that she did see this, and it really gave her the creeps. The narrator wanted to stop the car, but unfortunately there was a car driving too closely to the back of them, and it was extremely bad weather conditions, so it just wasn't a good idea for him to stop the car. It would have been a dangerous situation for him, his fiance, as well as the people in the other car. And he looked back at it through his window, and he said that whatever this was definitely resembled to him some kind of mutated dog. He does confirm, however, that this 100% was not a cow or anything like that, and he does in fact believe that what he and his fiance witnessed that evening was Dogman. So this next story that I'm going to share with you, and the last story that I'm going to share today, comes from Sacramento, California, and took place in 1953, so a pretty long time ago. The narrator of this story was only 12 years old when this happened, and she was laying on the couch in her family home, again located in Sacramento, California, just watching TV and chilling out, when all of a sudden she noticed what appeared to be a large dark mass hovering over the outside of her window. This in itself immediately really panicked the girl because she thought that somebody was looking into her home through the window. So she kind of walked over to the window to get a better view, and that is when she was absolutely petrified and shocked to find that whatever was looking into her home did not appear to be human. It looked like whatever this was had the huge head of a dog, but she said that the head was just like abnormally large. Again, she said that this creature's head was way too large for this to be your average dog or coyote. She said that it was too dark to be able to see what exactly the dog's coloring was or the creature's coloring was, but she said that she does believe that it was either a dark grayish, brownish color. She also said that she could see that this creature had a very long, flat snout, and it just didn't resemble an average dog to her, and it freaked her out to no end. She also described that this creature had red glowing eyes, which was one of the first things that she noticed after walking over to the window, because it just stood out to her so much because it was so unnatural. The girl was absolutely petrified and called out for her mom and dad to come and see what she was looking at, and when she did this, the creature stood up and she could see that this creature was about 5 feet tall. By the time her parents had gotten down to the window, the creature was completely gone. So the three of them went outside to investigate and try and see if they could find whatever it was that had been outside the window. And when they walked around to the side of the house, it was just like when her parents saw the window, it was confirming to all of them that the window was way too high for your average dog or coyote to be able to rest its head and look through the window. To this day, that girl has never seen a creature like that ever again, and she does believe whatever it was that she encountered that day was in fact Dogman. These stories always creep me out, and I feel like in a time like this when we're all locked in our homes and we can't go out or do anything and we don't want to think about something too tragic, I feel like these stories are fun to read and listen to and entertain. But that is all that I have for you guys today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to comment down below what you'd like to see in my future videos, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so that you don't miss any future videos from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!